The Farmers with Disabilities Beekeeping Association, in partnership with Cuso International and Global Affairs Canada, present Living with Disability. A lot of us get out of bed every morning and do our usual routine. Go to the bathroom, make something to eat, take a shower. But for many other individuals, these mundane tasks that we don't even think about are comparable to climbing a mountain. So what exactly is a disability? According to the Center for Disease Control, a disability is any condition of the body or mind that makes it more difficult for the person with the condition to do certain activities and interact with the world around them. The UN estimates that approximately 1.3 billion people experience significant disabilities and that these individuals face numerous health inequities, stigma, and barriers to gaining education and employment. Those numbers get even more disturbing when you examine the female portion of the disabled. The global literacy rate for women with disabilities is 1%. 30 women are injured or disabled every minute while working, and disabled women are 50% less likely to be employed compared to disabled men. Looking through the piles of information and statistics can really develop a sense of sadness in you. But it also begs a serious question. What are we going to do about it? This is St. Lucia. Small island in the Caribbean, 238 square miles, 180,000 people, and home to the Farmers with Disabilities Beekeeping Association. The FDBA is a community organization operating out of Swaziland in the southwest of the island. The goal is to provide employment opportunities and strengthen disabled people to be able to provide for themselves in a world where that seems nigh impossible to do. And leading that mission is Albertina Mondesi.
My name is Albertina Mondesi. I live at Cafe in Swaziland. I am a river girl. We were brought up without pipe-borne water and flushing toilets and all of that. So I'm a real country girl, born in the 50s. Well, my parents' union born 14 children. 11 of us survived to adulthood. At a tender age of 9, my step-down sibling was born and started having symptoms and signs of there would be a disability. And so at the age of 11, she couldn't walk. Her muscles in her legs got thin and couldn't bear her. She couldn't hold if the muscles in her hand got wasted. And she went down on her bum on the floor. And she lived for 54 years there on the floor. But my first experience with disability was when my brother went to look for a job at the oil factory, the copper factory in the Soufrière town. And we were so hopeful that he would get it, but he came back and said that the manager told him he's handicapped and he will not be able to work at the factory. And that really hit me hard. So I promised myself, not anybody else, that I must do something to provide a job for them because they will not get employment anywhere.
All things considered, the FDBA has been making progress in its mission. To date, they have a membership of 30 people, an area to operate in, and even a few projects aimed specifically at improving the livelihoods of people living with disabilities. But progress for them and people like them usually comes after disproportionate amounts of one thing: frustration.
With projects, you have to learn how to seek for assistance from donors. So sometimes you write, sometimes people promise and they never deliver. So you have to keep on, I would say, like begging. As I always say and laugh about it, we become professional beggars. Members dwindled. I mean, we had nowhere to keep a meeting. I kept it at the hospital, and until there was a time. Well, we had nowhere to go. Everywhere we go, they kind of say we were two things. We couldn't stay in the hospital because it was in the waiting room. Then we went to an old building, but they soon break down that building and so on.
It goes without saying that an endeavor like this would never really be a walk in the park for anyone. I mean, walking itself is difficult enough for a lot of their demographic. But that's the heart of the mission, really, to create an environment where anyone can support and develop themselves despite whatever disability they may be living with. Since the FDBA has no shortage of such people, let's introduce Miss Maria Augustine.
I am Mavis Augustine. I'm from St.Lucia. In 1987, I got married to New Augustine. He's a Dominican by birth, and I migrated to Dominica in 1990. So I spent a few years here and then migrated to Dominica. First, when I arrived in Dominica, we find ourselves doing poultry, farming, poultry. And then afterwards, I find myself doing farming. I'm growing vegetables, lettuce, cabbage, celery, and etc.
There's no doubting that Maria is a hard worker. Leaving home to start a new life overseas as a farmer is really all the proof you need of that. But as we know all too well, it only takes one day for life to turn completely upside down.
After the Hurricane Maria, it was so difficult because my husband found himself into an accident where he was using a chainsaw and he fell and he damaged his spine. Right. And it was so difficult because it was just after the hurricane and no road, nothing. He was finding himself in the hospital and it was so hard for me.
At that time, could you walk properly or were you already having mobility issues?
Well, it's a long time since I suffered with my knees. So, since I migrate here, it get worse. And himself, with his disability, he cannot do much to help me. I have to do plenty of the work.
Maria is suffering from a case of osteoarthritis, a condition in which the cartilage that lines the joints deteriorates. Imagine going through life with a constant grinding sensation. That's what she's going through. The other difficulty is that as a farmer, most of her work happens close to the ground, and since her knee is the affected joint, performing her regular day-to-day tasks is nearly impossible without severe pain.
Because of the disability with my husband and my challenges, and my sister live alone, so she asked us if we can come to live with us, which would be better for us because there is no relative in Dominica. I love farming, so I continue doing farming. When I came back to St.Lucia.
For an individual who really is passionate about something, a disability can hurt, hinder, and sadden them, but it can never really stop them. Seeing as these individuals made special effort to join and grow this organization, that shouldn't come as much surprise. But what might shock you is that this kind of determination is a little more common than you might think.
I'm Laura Peterson from PI. I'm 63 years old. I attended school at PI, but I could not finish because of my disability. We didn't have access to take me to school and back and stuff like that. And plus, I had a back pain. At that time, my people could not afford. Things were not like now. Everybody is advancing everything. You'll go places now and you'll get a little help. But that time didn't have that. So after I dropped out, I had love for the crochet. My mother had love for flowers. So I started with the flowers from there. But I decided to do something for my living because it's not every day my mother and father would be there for me. So I tried the crochet. I tried sewing because I did all that. But just that I don't have market for them. If I have to rely on that to survive, I will not. because I have the trade, but I don't have market for it.
Laura, despite losing her walking to polio, is not a member of Farmers with Disabilities. She's in no association and has no opportunities to benefit from donor or grant funding. Yet still, she gets up every day to make something happen for herself. Laura has taken all the skills she had and still uses them daily despite having little formal education and little ability to move. That really is something. As much as we would like to sit and praise her for the rest of this film, there are certain issues that her situation brings to light. The first one is a lack of suitable market for disabled individuals to sell their goods and services. Laura only has a single opportunity to sell her crochet when she goes to Coconut Bay, a resort in the south of the island. She speaks very well of how the establishment treats her, but 2 days a week in a resort is not the easiest thing to live off of.
Like I go to Coconut Bay on a Tuesday and Saturday, and hardly to make something. Most time I go, I don't sell another thing. They always want to give them a discount, and it's not any little discount there. Mostly half of what you ask them for. There are times I having to tell them go, because I cannot be working that hard and go and come and give it to you all for free. When I know they have money, they can pay. Even if we are at Coconut Bay for free, one thing they treat us good there. They treat us good. As for me, they treat me good.
This is by no means her attacking any establishment or group of people. In fact, we witnessed a good number of guests come over and show a lot of interest in the products she was selling. But the reality remains that this kind of business is quite the hustle, even for someone of able body who could be there every day. How is someone who can't even walk supposed to cut through the numerous activities for guests to partake in, especially with only 2 days out of the week to operate? As if that wasn't a strain enough on her ability to survive, the other issue she brings to light is that of dependency.
My daughter is my rancher on my left hand. My daughter have to squeeze up the place to put my chair. And it's not that chair, because we cannot go with that chair. It's the wheelchair. Not most times she works night. When she went to drop me on morning, she coming back home. At home, she's married at home with 2 children. She have to drop me and come back to send her children to school. When she works at 3, I start packing at 4. By 4:30 for her to drop me back here and for her to go back to work. That's the hustle.
My name is Gina Peterson. My mom's name is Laura Peterson. She has a disability from the age of 3 where she had polio and got her infirm. I mostly have the responsibility of taking care of her and doing everything that needs to be done for her. So for the past few years, she has been earning a living at Coconut Bay vending. I do work at the resort. It's a little challenging for me sometimes because I have to be working the night shift and waking up early in the morning and coming to drop her in the morning. Then I still have a morning shift, a full 7 to 3 shift to work. So it gets me exhausted sometimes, but I just have to do what I have to do in order to assist her.
The often overlooked aspect of the life of a disabled person is not only the fact that they are almost entirely dependent on others to survive, but that this dependency is also an immense strain on the individuals upon who they depend.
Everything is basically me, so it would be just a routine.
Well, I just don't know how to finish. Thank God for giving that daughter to me, because she's my one and all, as I tell you. She take me to, she provide me with the necessary stuff I want, like the thread. Like last year she traveled, she bring down a barrel of thread for me, because she knows that when she give me that, I will work it out to do the best out of it.
As difficult as it is to think about, a healthy person giving their all for the disabled is really heartwarming. It's not every day you see this kind of care and love being given by someone. And it's also not every day that the person giving the care and love is healthy. We were told that there was a woman with serious mobility issues living up this road. This very narrow and bumpy road. After getting there, a woman barely limped over even rougher ground to bring us back to her house. The disturbing part of this is that she's not the woman we were looking for. She's her mother. This is the woman we're looking for.
Okay, my name is Danetta Clifton. I'm 31 and I'm from Belfort, Soufrière. I got sick sometime in 2017 where I had a surgery and then everything went downhill from there. So I was able to walk, I was able to live productively, but after the surgery I was not able to that much. I was 24 when all my issues started. I was unable to walk. I feel like when it comes to living with a disability in St.Lucia, it's like you're kind of forgotten because, like, okay, say for me, for instance, if I have to like go to a doctor's appointment or go out somewhere, like I have to depend on everyone. Like, of course, my parents take care of me, so sometimes I have a certain amount of money, but it's like if I have to go to St. Jude's to a doctor's appointment like every 3 months, sometimes if I get sick, it's like we have to pay the bus, a two-way trip, and then having to eat, and then so it costs a lot, which like my mom doesn't work, so it's mostly my dad, but he doesn't work all the time, so it's like a strain.
When a bus in St. Lucia leaves the route it's registered to, the driver will charge the passenger an additional fee. In a case like Danetta's, a trip by bus that would normally cost around 10 EC or 375 US could cost her anywhere between 90 and 150 EC, all because she can't walk to the main road or between bus stops. On top of the financial strain, she also has to deal with the emotional strain that comes with any disability.
It's kind of depressing because like at my age I feel like I should be able to do certain things by myself, and probably going grocery shopping or being able to make enough money to like just certain things, but like I'm not capable of doing it on my own, so it kind of gets to me. It's like really depressing in a sense. Sometimes I speak to my friends, sometimes I don't because everyone is busy apart from me, so yeah.
Now, as we previously noted, these hardships are not only Danetta's to bear. Also deeply affected by this situation is her mother and caregiver, who herself has serious mobility issues.
My name is Maria Adela Henry. I'm from Belfort, Soufrière. I'm 56. Everybody know me as Adela. Donetta Clifton is my last child, my daughter. Well, I feel bad because I see
That's what they need to say. I'm sorry.
I feel so bad because I see she was working. She go to school. And she was reaching out to me. And when she went to work, she get paid. She was looking after me. Now I'm the mother, I'm the father. I don't have nobody to help me. I'm doing everything on my own, and plus my mom there, I have to take care of her. She's an elderly lady. I've got an ulcer. It's a long while I have that ulcer. From school I have that ulcer. But I say my mom neglects me. She didn't take care of me. Is when I grow up, I start going to hospital. That leg, it wasn't like that, but I just see it come crooked. I don't know. Yes, walk up and down the hill. Sometimes I have to carry water for her because she don't have. Well, government giving me 140 a month. I just multiply with it. I pay in my current. I pay in my cable and my water. I doing a little groceries whenever I can. But God is good. I didn't have any, and they're giving me the 140, thank God. I don't have a bathroom. For me to take a good bath, he's outside. I have to stand up for me to take a bath. I don't have a stove for me to cook my food. As you all can see, is on the wood I cook in my.
Clearly, this is no way for someone to live. From having to pay 15 times the normal cost of transport to feeling left out of what it is to be human. These are inequities no one should have to deal with. Now, as bad as their situation may seem, we quickly realized the deeper we dug, the worse it got. Similar to last time, we found ourselves in another unfamiliar area. It was only natural to seek some assistance, so I asked the gentleman by the road, "Hey, do you know where Miss Rose lives? The one who lost her feet." He looked at me and said, "Well, you have some walking to do." After meeting her husband at the edge of the road, we proceeded to walk down what I can only describe as something from Man vs. Wild. After a long, grueling trek, we reached a small house completely away from civilization. Once again, the person living here has lost her feet.
My name is Rose Charles. I am 69 years old. So when I come to Chateau Bel Air, I was working properly with my husband, with a little garden, like that. Ipa wait a tête, I have mat sav ki dat mo jeune ni. But moi supposé
là où jeune diabetes là où 35 years.
35 years, là mon jeune diabetes là.
Jeune pied coupé là, où t'es premier orteil là coupé, où t'es en les 50. Il était en les 50.
Et puis ça là, tout mon jeune ni, moi te pour aller au docteur, massa au docteur because ça a glissé, ça a mouillé, so massa monté là pour moi aller au docteur. La ban chimé.
Miss Rose lives here, a location 225 meters from the road. Mind you, that's only the straight line distance, and there are no straight lines to this house. After that, it's another 7,000 meters or a little over 4 miles to the nearest hospital. Put together, this is a lot of ground for a diabetic who, once again, has lost her feet to cover.
Eh bien, yon seul bagay actuellement qui casse trouble, c'est chimien. Chimien et puis madame. Les ngame ning bo chimien. Ngawe comme si dit oui. Nous poursuivons en chimien, même si c'est un foot pass. Un foot pass. Pour yoban. Il te kay bien de moi. Pour moi, ouais, madame, moi, t'es assise bo chimien là. C'est pas l'ité, mon qualité. Là où on a fait 5 lopations à Soug. Contour, Saint-Jude, yonde l'autre. Madame, même si vous tenez un bagage, ça veut y aller. Faut ça vous tenez pas ni encore. Et puis, maniche. Mani yon, mais ils pensent ensemble avec nous.
The other elephant in the room that we need to address is that Miss Rose is entirely dependent on her husband for her every need, since she can't do much for herself.
Mon côté tout le monde mari moi regarder moi. Mari moi ça moi content. Moi même mari moi, il pas faire moi méchanceté, il pas quitter moi sans manger, il pas quitter moi sans boire.
Moi qui ka laver, moi qui ka porter, moi qui ka passer, tout bagage.
As far as we can see, Miss Rose has a very caring husband. But we need to remember that not every woman is as lucky as Miss Rose. Disabled women are twice as likely to experience domestic abuse compared to their non-disabled counterparts. Now couple that with the fact that 3 of the disabled women that we've interviewed live in very remote areas. Not only are they physically incapable of running, but they have nowhere and no one to run to. Now, with all that we found, it only made sense that we took the trip up the road to speak with the minister responsible for people with disabilities. This gentleman in question, after a tragic accident, became a person with a disability himself.
All right, my name is Honorable Jeremiah Norbert, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and Persons with Disabilities. I was a young man playing football, riding motorcycle, running around with my children, and on February 17th, 2021, everything changed. To date, I had to readjust. I had to accept where I was, and acceptance is very important for people with disability. The Prime Minister would have made an announcement, and in March he made me the minister with responsibility for people with disabilities. And the thinking behind that is, for too long we've treated disability as a sidebar. We've treated disability here in St. Lucia, I don't want to say, I think an afterthought, if I'm honest with you. And we've not really given, no administration has really given disability the type of attention that it requires. We really need to review how we deal with matters of disability, because the world is moving in a particular direction and they're actually leaving us behind. Basic things, access. I mean, access is a challenge here in St. Lucia. You would have come to my office and realized that you had to climb a flight of stairs. I don't have a lift in this building. And this is not a situation that is just in this building. Generally, if you look at the city center, not many buildings are equipped with lifts or are accessible to persons with disability.
In the south of the island where these women live, it was startling to find that majority of the buildings did not have methods for disabled individuals to get in or out. Among those buildings were utility companies, government offices, and popular stores that sell affordable goods.
I don't know if the building code has anything to do with physical access, because sometimes you want to go up to, and all like government offices and important offices you have to go to, always up a step, and you have to sit down, wait at the bottom of the step, or let somebody else go and do the thing for you.
I have traveled, I love to travel, and I have traveled, and in many countries that I have been to, there are requirements in place for persons with disabilities. Especially, it's very challenging when I have to take her to see the doctor, and almost all doctor offices are in an upstairs with no elevator. So I have to be asking persons for assistance, and it is very challenging.
It would be of great help for the government to legislate that such buildings must contain some form of access that the disabled can use. Another hurdle previously mentioned was transport.
Public transport. It is very expensive to hire a vehicle to go for your treatment, especially when you have disability.
If the person close to you, a good friend of yours, will take you $100, but if you have to hire a transport, I think it's $150. Sometimes I don't have the money. Look, she had to go and she had an appointment for this month, but she's not going.
Operators of public transport in St. Lucia have associations for the various routes as well as a national association. The government could negotiate with the drivers from various communities and implement a bus ticketing system. When a disabled individual seeks transport to a medical institution, a redeemable ticket can be given to the driver in exchange for payment for the government. This system can be tweaked as needed to ensure smooth operation and limit fraud. Being a productive member of society is also a big problem for people with disabilities, as they either can't do much or don't have a market for the things that they can do.
A travail, moi, c'était faire un petit jardin. Côté mari, moi, il fait un petit jardin, moi, aller pour moi cercler, moi, aller pour moi mettre en grenade pour nos jeunes, pour nous servir. Pour nous servir. Planter un petit sel, un petit long, un petit bail. Pour actuellement, ça fait ça. Ça fait sa pièce, puis tous les deux pieds m'ont entamé.
I cannot physically go to work because I'm not able to walk. But I started a small business where I do keychains and necklaces and stuff of that nature. So it helps a bit, but not that much.
We do not have somewhere where you can come in if you have a disability, register and say, okay, I have X, Y, and Z disability and it is registered. And now you can go and you have data and you can use the empirical evidence to now guide you when you're making policy. So that is one of the first things that we have to work on.
Craft is an area that two of our interviewees are involved in. If placed in a suitable environment like a port of entry or designated market area, these trinkets could generate good revenue for the individuals making them. The government could also provide training to the individuals in effective ways of presenting their products. For example, tourists can be hesitant to purchase the stereotypical gift shop item that might not even be local and gravitate more towards authentic items that reflect the culture of the country. Individuals who don't have an established skill already can also be trained to perform tasks that they can do. An individual who can't walk, for example, can be trained in document production and other computerized services.
You would understand that there are various degrees and types of disabilities. You cannot categorize disability. You cannot just envelope everything in under one umbrella. There are different cores, different tiers, and someone may have a disability and they may be able to work. It may not necessarily impede their ability to create economic viability for themselves and their families. Some people have disabilities, cognitive disabilities, that they are in a position where they just cannot work. And we have to look at the various tiers.
What may prove to be the most difficult thing to deal with out of everything, however, is the way disabled people are treated in society.
My journey has taught me that there's a dire need to really review and reflect on how we operate here in St. Lucia. One of the issues we have that really plague us here is the general culture. The general culture, and it requires a bit of educating, a lot of sensitizing, because when you see how people treat people with disability in St. Lucia, it begs the question whether it is a situation of ignorance, whether they just don't know, or whether it's a situation where we just don't care. There are specific like parkings designated for people with disability, and there's scant disregard. And there is no running away from it. It is what it is. There is scant disregard for the signs. People go, able-bodied people go, and they figure that sign, that parking is closer to the entrance, and they just go there.
As a district nurse, when I went home visiting, a community visit, and to see the life that some people live, the living situation, not just that, how they live, but how their loved ones, the family give care to elderly people who now has a disability, because as you grow older, with age comes a degree of disability, and how they treat children with disability. At the time, in the region, there was no school or anywhere for children with disabilities, so they were being left at home, closed doors, and so on. So we had this camp every year. We would have a summer camp for children with disabilities, and we took both the children in school and those out of school, because a lot of parents didn't, at the initial stage, they didn't really want to bring their children in school. They didn't want to bring them out. Maybe they were fearful too of how, they would care for them and so on.
It would seem like we've painted a very dark picture here, and a lot truly is not as it should be. But what we can take comfort in is that society is full of people fighting every day to make sure tomorrow will be better for those who, because of disability, have issues providing for themselves.
I try to help and do all what I can to survive. If I get the opportunity to go and educate others, like young people of our days now, if I get the opportunity to go somewhere to do it, it will be my pleasure.
You don't just have to care for a person with disability. They also teach you things. They teach you how to be innovative. They teach you, how to help people. This is good. You don't just feel that you are giving all the time. They sharing something with you that you need to learn.
You look at globally the impact of people with disability, what they've been able to do, what they've been able to achieve. The examples are glaring. They're there for us to see. You may not truly understand what it is unless you've walked in the shoes of persons with disability. But I want to encourage all St. Lucians to play their part. It has to be a whole country approach. It has to be an approach that is unified. It cannot be segmented. The segregation will not make it any better or easier for us. We have to become a more receptive nation as it relates to matters with disability.
We've seen many aspects of the lives of these women, their strengths, their efforts, and their hardships. We'd like to close by asking the same question we asked in the beginning. To the government, to the private sector, and to any and everyone in society who could make a difference, big or small, what are we going to do about it?